5 top tips for total family talk. Thought we'd start with the Bible and see some nuggets of wisdom there that the Lord has placed in there for us. The first one, I think, is one of the most important verses in terms of family talk, and that is that everyone should be quick to, yes, and slow to speak. I often hear that we're given 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that we should use them in the same proportions. Another verse I found that I thought might work for us today: therefore encourage one another and build one another up. For the first couple of times that we met together on Friday, I talked about affirmation, both in the family system and in the marriage system, and in using encouraging words is a biblical principle that I think that would be very helpful for us to keep in mind as we go through this talk. Here's another one: do all things without grumbling, right? Or disputing. Without grumbling or disputing. Family talk, information from the Bible that's helpful for us. And this one from Galatians. The whole law can be summed up with love your neighbor, but, Georgie, I can't see this. No. She's going to have to get my glasses. When I chose this verse, I really wanted to focus on that last little part there, that now I'll be able to see a lot better. But if you, what? And devour one another, then you'll be consumed by one another. So the Bible gives us some good guidance in terms of avoiding negativity when we talk to each other and when we deal with each other, and I think that that's going to be important for us to follow as well. So keeping that in mind, on Friday when I talked about family strengths, these are the 6 that I shared with you that research over the last 30 to 40 years has shown have been important characteristics of strong families. Strong families express appreciation and affection for one another, and we talked about several ways to have that happen. Strong families enjoy time together, and they make a space available for that to happen. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that in terms of ideas on family talk as well today. Strong families experience a great sense of spiritual well-being. They have a religion or a spirituality that is both personal and proactive and practical. Strong families exhibit commitment to the family. And that's as a family as a whole, not just as an individual, but you make a commitment to the whole circle of folks that are in that family. And then on to today's topic, strong families exercise positive communication and effectively manage stress and crisis. So that's what we hope to finish off with this morning. For positive communication, strong families have good communication patterns, and that includes a sense of warmth, respect, and interest in what's happening. Family members take time together and are good listeners. Family members may have quarrels and engage in conflict. So strong families aren't conflict-free, but they know how to handle and manage conflict. let me see if I can find the last one. Above all, family members are honest, open, and receptive towards each other. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about positive communication. Those are the characteristics that we're going to do with our 5 tips. And the 5 tips include, number 1, making time for meaningful exchange. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Then opening up that space for conversation to happen. Number 3, listen like you mean it. It's not just a passive kind of listening, it's just not pretending, it's really listening. Then there are ways that you can make clear requests that can be really helpful to have things go in the direction that you want them to do. And finally, we'll be talking about fostering a positive perspective and ways that you can do that in your family. Okay, the first one, make time for meaningful exchange. And I'm going to offer 2 ways to do that. And there are many ways, but I just wanted to share a couple of ideas that I think that you could incorporate right away. One is opening up a space to have a shared meaningful experience over meal times. And the second one is taking a look at media and how that's used in your family. So for mealtime, one of the things that research tells us is that those kids in families that have more meals together, more shared meals, have these characteristics in common. Those students experience greater academic achievement. They report eating more nutritious meals. Those students maintain a healthier weight, engage in more positive family interactions, and are less likely to use drugs and alcohol. So shared family meals can have positive impacts across the spectrum. So that's one of the things I'd like to invite you to give it a try. I know that it's hard, but increasing those family meals can make a big difference in your kids. Does your family sometimes look like this? Yes, families are communicating more and more using media, and sometimes it can be very helpful. Don't get me wrong. Some moms are even finding that texting with their kids increases some communication sometimes. However, it's important that you know how much media time you and your family are having. This is what child experts recommend, that it's just no more than 1 hour a day for children ages 2 to 5. And no more than 2 hours a day for children over 5. And when we talk about screen time, we're talking about any kind, TV, DVDs, or computer time. So that's the recommendation. Here is some information from a study in the US, and I'm going to guess Australia isn't that much different. 77% of 8 to 15-year-olds said that they'd rather give up TV than the internet. Most parents in the U.S. estimate their children spend about 2 hours a month on the internet. Okay? What's reality? More than 20 hours. Okay? So the thought and the reality sometimes doesn't come together, so be aware of that. And then about 41% of teens claim their parents have no idea what they're looking at when they're on the internet. So don't be one of those parents. Be an involved parent. Be one that knows what your kids are watching. And you can put controls on things as well. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, open up the conversation. You open up the conversation, that means being proactive about intentional talking. We're going to talk more about what I mean when I say turning towards. That's what we're going for when we open up the conversation, is paying attention to that person that's trying to communicate. So turning towards. Another way that we want to avoid, but you need to know about it, is turning away. And the third one is turning against. And you know what that looks like as well. So what we're going for is number one, turning towards. We're trying to eliminate turning away and turning against in our conversations. I have a short video clip about that features turning towards and turning away. And I think that this clip really illustrates very well what happens to a person when there's turning towards, and what happens to a person when they're turning away. And this is from old research that was done on attention and attachment in children. And so this is a little research clip, but you'll see what I mean when I talk about turning toward and turning away. And this is a few minutes going here.
Babies this young are extremely responsive to the emotions and the reactivity and the social interaction that they get from the world around them. This is something that we started studying 30, 40 years ago, when people didn't think that infants could engage in social interaction. In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age.
I'm my good girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this, and then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, "Come on, why aren't we doing this?" Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions, they turn away, they feel the stress of it, they actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh, yes. Oh, what a big girl.
It's a little like the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that normal stuff that goes on, that we all do with our kids. The bad is when something bad happens, but the infant can overcome it. After all, when you stop the still face, the mother and the baby start to play again. The ugly is when you don't give the child any chance to get back to the good. There's no reparation, and they're stuck in that really ugly situation.
So you can see the power of turning away. What we need to do in our families is always turn toward. So when they need our attention, we're focused there, and those negative things don't come out nearly so much. So wasn't that a powerful clip on turning away? So we want you to open up the conversations. We want you to turn towards. Here's a little information from a marriage relationship on turning towards. And here's an illustration couple here who will remain anonymous. What research says is for the successful couples, the masters rather than the disasters, for the master couples, 84% of those couples will turn towards when someone asks for attention. 84% of the time. Those unsuccessful couples, the disasters, they will only turn towards 34%, 1/3 of the time. So heading for divorce, one key aspect of that is turning away or turning against. So you want to turn towards, so to keep that marriage relationship strong. Then for children, one way that you can open up that conversation is to be proactive in asking questions. How was your day? What did you like for dessert? What was good about school? What was difficult? What friends did you play with? What kind of math problems are you looking for or looking at right now? So open up the conversation by asking questions. Then notice something. If they don't want to engage in answering questions, then just notice something. I see you have red shoes on today. I noticed that you were just playing outside, and so just make a comment on it. And then finally, if they are having some kind of emotions, then name what that emotion is. So your face is turned your mouth is turned down. It looks like you're feeling really sad, or you've been so quiet. I wonder what's going on. So kind of a series of noticing and commenting, and that helps open up the conversation. Or if they are trying to get your attention, just like the little baby was, reaching out in some way, focus in. And then that helps with them being able to turn towards, and you turn towards each other. Okay, the next one is listening. And remember, on the first slide, listen like you mean it. And I want to introduce the idea of listening in two different ways. Listening for both content and listening...
Hello and welcome to the Mental...
Sorry. Listening for both content and listening for feelings. And here is an example of maybe not listening so good. A mental health hotline.
Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Hotline. If you are obsessive-compulsive, press 1 repeatedly. If you are codependent, ask someone to press 2 for you. If you have multiple personalities, press 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you are paranoid, we know what you are and what you want. Stay on the line and we'll trace your call. If you're delusional, press 7 and your call will be transferred to the mothership. If you are schizophrenic, listen carefully and a small voice will tell you which number to press. If you are depressive, it doesn't matter which number you press, no one will answer you. If you are dyslexic, press 69696969. If you have a nervous disorder, please fidget with the hash key until the beep. After the beep, please wait for the beep. If you have a short-term memory loss, please try your call again later. And if you have low self-esteem, hang up. All our operators are too busy to talk.
Too busy to talk to you. Not a good example of listening. This is not what we're going for. So instead, we will listen for content. And here is an excerpt from a conversation recently. What I hear you say is, so that's the lead-in. What I hear you say is, because somebody has just told them about their day, what I hear you say is, you had mismatched socks on this morning. You couldn't find the meeting room. The copies for your presentation were one-sided instead of two-sided. You discovered later that your top was inside out. You might think that it's funny to repeat back what someone has said, but this is actually an excerpt from something that I was telling my husband when I got back from a presentation one day. Yes, And he listened for content, and he listened for feelings. And I said, I looked down and I saw I had mismatched socks this morning, and then I couldn't find the meeting room. And when I did find the room, it started the presentation. The copies were one-sided instead of two-sided. And he said, I'm so sorry. That sounds incredibly frustrating. And it was. But just to hear those words was a nice thing. As I was leaving the meeting and heading back to my room, I discovered that my top was inside out. That sounds miserable, he said. Did you feel embarrassed? Of course I did. So that was a very bad day. But I had someone that was listening to me, and it made all the difference. So we want you to be able to listen for both content and for feelings. And then, if you practice those things, even a bad day can turn out just a little bit better. On making clear requests, I want to give you a minute to take a look at that and see if you can figure out what had happened here. Okay, imagine someone calling in. They're calling in to a bakery, and they're ordering a cake. And the person that's ordering the cake says, we want you to put on the cake, best wishes, Suzanne. And then underneath that, right, we will miss you. Do you see it now? On the cake, right, best wishes, Suzanne. And underneath that, we will miss you. Making clear requests is an important key element to getting what you want and what you deserve and what you need. Sometimes we do our best and still the request doesn't come all the way to where it needs to be. I have another little clip, this is very short, that illustrates a little mismatch in communication. Even when the request seems very clear, sometimes it isn't.
Close your eyes and just fall down, okay? Don't worry.
Okay, then Lauren's going to catch you.
Close your eyes. Okay.
Okay, it's called the trust fall. Okay, trust fall. Ready, set, go.
They said to fall. Yeah. Communication is complex. It's complicated. We sometimes put information out there and we don't have control over what happens next. So we want to work on making clear requests. John Gottman, the researcher that I was talking about on Friday, calls this positive complaining. And positive complaining can actually help in communication because it's not negative complaining. So negative complaining always leads a downhill path, the path that we don't want to follow. Positive complaining has different rules to it and a different sound and a different feel. So that's what we're going to focus on in the next few minutes, positive complaining. There are a couple of characteristics of positive complaining that I'd like to share with you. One suggestion is to focus on specific behaviors and not make global judgments. Okay, I'm going to put up an example of each kind for you. So a global judgment would sound something like this. You're so lazy around the house. Okay, that's negative complaining. That's what we don't want. Here is another way to say it. It would be helpful if you take out the trash when it's full. Okay, so that kind of leads in, you're making a little bit, you're complaining. It's not that everything's rosy and everything's going well. You want something to change. So you introduce the topic. It would be helpful if you take the trash out when it's full. And then I will tell you what you need to follow that up with in a minute. But this just is the contrast between a global kind of a judgment statement up here. I guess I won't go backwards. And this is the positive statement here. Then the second one, state your needs without attacking or blaming the other person. You have some needs, and those needs are important, and we want those needs to be honored. In order for that to happen, you'll need to state them, but in a way that the person can really hear you. Because if you're saying something that's a blame statement or an attacking statement, what happens? Yeah, they shut you out. So something like this. What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you? All you ever think about is golf. You never think about me and the kids. Now, I would never say that. Again. Here's the way to say it. I need your help with the kids on the weekends. But for the past 3 Sundays, you've been playing golf. So it's much softer. It's something that someone can actually hear. And then if they can hear it, then they can take it in, and then they might be able to make a change. And so we want you to engage in positive complaining, stating things that you need, you want, you desire, but in a way that people can hear them and can hear you and make a change. Once you've stated what you want different, then there are several ways. There's one best way in the end to ask it. What happens when you say to someone, could you come around 8 o'clock? If you didn't really want to come at 8, then what could you say that would kind of please the person but not really answer it? Could you come around 8 o'clock? Yeah, I could. Yes, I could. Will they be there? No. No chance. Would you mind being here at 8? Oh, no, I wouldn't mind. Wouldn't mind at all. Will they be there? No. What do you think about coming here at 8? Around 8? Oh, I think that's a good idea. Still won't be there. Will you come at 8 tomorrow morning? And that's the one that we're going for, is a straight-on will you, because that asks for a commitment. And then the person does need to say yes or no, not, yeah, I could, no, I wouldn't mind, I think that's a good idea. All of those things can muddle communication. So if you want to make the clearest of clear requests, then we'd like to think that will you might be the best option for you. Something to keep in mind. Then a little series of ways to ask. And it's a little formula that I often share with families that takes the blaming and the attacking away and puts the request front and center. Now here's how it goes. And I'm going to give you a chance in a moment to practice this skill. Because if you practice it, it's more likely that it'll stay with you than if you just see it up on this screen. It goes like this. When you, and then after that ... put in actual behavior. So when you pull the kitty's tail, I feel, and then after that ... goes emotion, some emotion word, a feeling word. Feeling words like happy, sad, angry, frustrated, upset. You cannot use the word that after I feel. I feel that is something else. So just I feel and then emotion word. So when you pull the kitty's tail, I feel sad because it hurts him. Will you pat him gently instead? Okay, so when you behavior, I feel emotion. Will you? And then the request. And then that's the very most important part, is the will you, because that leads into what you really want. So when you leave the room after we've finished eating without helping with the dishes, then I feel overburdened. I feel abandoned. Because I'm doing it all by myself, and I really need your help. So will you stay afterwards, after we get finished eating, will you stay and help and join in with the cleanup? So it's a little formula that you can use just by, if you just keep these words in your head. So I am going to give you a moment to practice that. If you're sitting by yourself, then you can think it through. If you're sitting next to someone, I would encourage you to just give it a try. Think of a situation that's frustrating for you, or one that you want to see different or improved, and use this formula: when you, I feel, because, and will you. Give that just a moment in 2s, 3s, however it works for you. Ready, set, go. Okay, I hear the noise level going up and up, so that sounds good in some ways, but I think you're probably experienced now a little bit. Very good. And what was that like for you? And I wish we had more give and take, but I really am curious what that was like for you to practice that, to use that sequence. If it was helpful, if it was kind of strange, plastic. Any feedback? Can you share with me, someone, what that was like for you to practice? And I think that this trio in front might share something. I'll repeat that. You had to think a little bit, before you could do it. All right, so the mind started it to engage. That's one of the things that you noticed. Excellent. Right back here. Yes, she really appreciated the will you part, because that's the heart and soul. And if you forget everything else, the when, the I feel, and all the rest, if you remember just the will you, that's really going to do you well. Will you bring me? Yes, he remembered from Friday that I like chocolate. So will you bring me how much? A lot of chocolate. I like it. Excellent. All right, so will you, I feel, and I want to emphasize about the I feel one, because it's so easy to slip into I feel that. And when you say the word that, it takes it from the heart back up to the head, and it's a thought instead of a feeling then. I feel that you're just really being something or other. I feel that you really shouldn't have done that. See, that's not an emotion. That's a thought, or it's a belief. But what you want to share is something that you're feeling. Okay, so when you, I feel, because will you, and then the listening part of the request. Actually, I need someone to help me with this, and I'm going to choose Georgie. Let's have a hand for Georgie. They're going to give her a mic. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't think that I was going to do this, but I do have time to do it, so I'm going to. Georgie is going to think of some complaint that she has, and she's going to complain about me, and I know there's really not much she can say that's complaining about me, but it's going to be made up.
So I just complain to you?
Yes, you're going to complain to me. You don't have to follow this formula. You can just talk about something that you can talk about something. It doesn't have to be something that you're really upset with me about. It's just you just want to tell me something, and it's a little bit of a complaint, maybe.
Okay, Renee, I'm really sick of the way that you pick on me all the time.
Yeah, right. She loves it. Okay. Start again. So what I'm doing now is illustrating the first point on the listening, which is the tell me more. Okay, that's what I'm doing now. Go ahead. Now for real.
Say it again.
Yes.
Renee, I really don't like the way that you pick on me all the time.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, whenever we're doing things, you just pick on me, and then when we're with a group, you pick on me again and make all these comments.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
It's enough, come on. She goes again.
So she could be really, really mad, and then the tell me more brings it down. Instead of escalating, because what we normally want to do is when there's a complaint, go ahead, you try it again on me? I know, it's terrible.
Renee, I'm really sick and tired of the way that you pick on me all the time.
Yeah, but I don't really pick on you. I don't even know what you're talking about. See that shutting it down? That's trying to shut it down. But what happens inside her?
It just builds it up.
She could even feel it right then. You could see her hands, right?
But.
Yeah, but. So the de-escalation is a tell me more statement. So you allow the person to say, and I only had to say tell me more twice, and then what was your reaction when I said tell me more the third time?
Just, what am I going to say next?
What am I going to say next? She ran out of things after just 2 times. And so I don't know how many times it's going to take for you and your child or your spouse. You might have to tell me more 3 or 4 or 10 times, but the more you say, the more everything comes out. And so
Please, may I be excused now?
you may be excused. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so after the tell me more, then the next thing is what I heard you say was. And then remember back to the listening skills. You can either offer content, things that you heard that were factual. What I heard you say were your socks were mismatched, that you couldn't find the meeting room, that your copies were one-sided instead of two-sided. And then, did I get that right? So then you have kind of a check on whether or not the person heard you or you heard them right. Did I get that right? You can listen for content or you can listen for feelings. What I heard you say was you had these things going wrong, and I'm wondering if you might be feeling just sad or discouraged. Did I get that right? Is that right? So take a double check on that. And I think that that might be a nice thing to practice as well. So let's give that a try. One person has some kind of complaint. You don't have to follow the rules there if you don't want to. But when they slow down, then you can say, tell me more. After they stop saying what they're saying, when they say, tell me more, then I don't have anything else to say, then you say, what I heard was, did I get that right? Okay, so try that out. 2 minutes. Ready, set, go. Okay, then you can bring your conversations to a close. I hear some of you are having way too much fun. So how did that go for you? What was that like? Can anyone offer something? Someone share? It's good practice. Okay. What else? Someone else? Yes. So there was a feeling of frustration. Okay. Someone else? Oh, we have a mic even. Oh, tell me more. Oh, never mind. Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you. The one that I want to share with you, in addition to the other things that we've talked about, has to do with the positive perspective and sharing the positive perspective when communicating in a family. How many of you have heard of the 5-to-1 ratio? 5-to-1 ratio, is that familiar? This comes from John Gottman's work with successful couples versus unsuccessful couples, couples that stay married versus couples that divorce. With the master couples, those couples had a 5 to 1 ratio of positive interactions to negative interactions. So for every 5 positive, 2, 3, 4, 5, there was 1 negative. It takes 5 times as many positives to 1 negative to have the balance sheet balance. It does not do to have it about the same. 50-50 ratio will not work. In the disaster couples, what he found was that the ones that did not stay married just had a little bit more positive than negative. But just a little bit more positive isn't enough. And the same holds true with families. You have to have a lot more positives than negatives happening. Otherwise, things deteriorate very quickly. So 5 positives, 1 negative. Another thing that helps develop the positive perspective is an attitude of gratitude. Research on gratitude is amazing. And just a simple little thing like asking college students to write down 5 things that you're thankful for a week. Just 5 things a week that you're thankful for, and write them down. And this is what they found. That with those students who kept a journal and wrote 5 things that they were thankful for, those folks had greater life satisfaction overall than students who wrote something that was just neutral, or those students that wrote about something, troubles during their week. The students that wrote down things that they were thankful for had a higher expectation about their future. So it's not just in the moment they're happier, but they have a brighter hope for a future. It didn't happen just in the head or in the heart, but this effect happened for their body as well. They had fewer symptoms of physical and mental illness, specifically depression. So if some of you are struggling with depression, even today, then attitude of gratitude can be helpful. Start today and write down 5 things from the past week that you were thankful for. These students also spent more time in exercise, and it showed in their scholastic achievement. They had higher GPAs. So just a simple exercise, write down 5 things that you're grateful for each week, and all of these benefits might come your way. It's worth a try. Let's take a minute and reflect on your week. You can do this just by yourself, or you can do this with the people that you're sitting next to. When you think about your week and the things that you're grateful for, what is it that you're thankful for? I'll share with you, number 1, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been such a privilege and an honor to be here with you and to get to know some of you better. Thank you to the sound crew and to the technology guys back there. And I wish you would join me in thanking them because they've done an amazing job. 1 hour before this presentation, my PowerPoint was not working. They fixed it. An attitude of gratitude can make a big difference. Take a minute, think about what you've been thankful for over this past week. Think about it, and if you are able to, share it with someone near you. Take a moment and do that now. Time. 5 minutes. Very good. You can bring your conversations to a close. What was that like for you? To think about things that you're thankful for. Did you notice a mood lift as you were thinking about things that you were thankful for? That often happens. I have one more video clip for you. It's very short. It's about something that someone is thankful for. Something that you might not ever think that someone could be thankful for.
Most people call it a hospital. Andrew Laneson calls it his hotel.
Everybody's perspectives are different.
Most people call cancer a curse. He calls it a blessing.
I never asked the question, why me? Why did I get it?
And this Thanksgiving, when most people would question what this 22-year-old college student has to be thankful for after 3 bouts with osteosarcoma, round after round of chemo, and several surgeries, he says there's plenty.
I'm grateful for my teachers that have been willing to work with me.
He's thankful for friends and family.
I'm just grateful for a lot of things.
But top on his list of thanks,
I'm thankful for having cancer.
And if someone were to ask him if somehow he could go back and not have cancer,
I would not do it, because the cancer is who shaped me up to be who I am today, and it's helping me become the better person. So I think I was blessed to get the cancer.
I was blessed to get the cancer. I don't think that I could ever think that. But yet this young man did. Having an attitude of gratitude made a big difference in his life. And in fact, the follow-up story is that a year following this clip, he was completely cured. So amazing, and praise God. God does call us to gratitude. You remember the story. Jesus had healed 10 lepers. How many came back to say thank you? Just 1. It's something that he noticed and commented on. I believe that the Lord wants us to truly think about the blessings that he's given us and to share those blessings with others. And I'd like for you to think as we close today, how will I express my gratitude today to the Lord, to people, to the ones that have made a difference in our lives, to people that have taught us something, to people that may have at the time even caused pain, but looking back, you can see that it was something important for you to learn. What's God's call on your heart to gratitude this morning? And how will you answer that call? I'd like for you to make a plan today and in the coming weeks to incorporate these ways of family talk, to foster a positive perspective, to listen, to be more in tune with the people that you love. And that way, it strengthens your family, not just for today, but for eternity. And that's my prayer for you today.